Taylor, and welcome to my table, literally, this small island in my small Brooklyn kitchen. I want to show you that cooking for yourself can be just as easy as ordering in or ordering it on Seamless, and not to mention way more affordable. And today we're going to be making one of my favorite dinners, my pasta with burst cherry tomatoes and basil. And it was inspired by the farmers markets that I went to when I first moved to New York 2 summers ago, and the bounty full of produce. And a lot of it was much cheaper than the grocery store. So I got really excited and I invented this dish. So let's begin by slicing half of a large onion. I really love onion. And a tip, if you don't want to cry, put some shades on. These are my faux Ray-Bans. I got them at Forever 21 because I'm broke. And the way that I like to peel an onion is I like to chop off the ends, just to make a sturdy base for yourself. You can do that like so. All right, we're gonna cut it in half. And use a chef's knife if you have it. They're like, I don't know, $20. Invest in one, please. All right, so we're gonna peel. Oh my gosh, this would be so much easier if I had nails. Once upon a time, when I didn't work in the kitchen, I had really nice nails. Not so much anymore. All right, got one onion peeled. And holding your fingers a little bit curled, lay it on top of the onion, and then just slice in even slices. And just keep moving your hand back the further you go in. Like, please don't cut off your finger when you're doing this. That would be so bad and would defeat the whole purpose of me showing you how to cook at home. I cannot be held liable for that. So we're gonna set that aside. Awesome. Garlic, love garlic. See, no tears. All right, give your garlic a good whack. Okay, obviously I have no muscle strength. All right, I like to chop off the ends of the garlic. And again, using that same finger and fingers curled, you're just gonna wanna slice it into thin slices. You can do a rough chop. And then how I like to mince my garlic, place your hand over the top of the knife, and then with a rowing motion, just chop it. Chop it fine. All right, cool. All right, so moving on to the stove, you want to saute your garlic and your onions until the onions are translucent. It'll be about 7 minutes. So we're just gonna crank our skillet up to medium, put in some virgin olive oil, virgin olive oil. And we're gonna put about 2 tablespoons of it in. Yeah. If you don't have olive oil, use canola. Awesome. Great. So while these are sauteing, we are going to crank up the heat on our boiling water for the pasta. Okay, so tomatoes. Tomato season is fastly coming to an end. And in my humble opinion, it's not even worth doing this dish or using tomatoes when tomato season is not available. So these tomatoes I got at my farmer's market, and they're a mix of tomatoes. Some of them are sun gold, some of them are like the typical red tomatoes that you see. And it baffles me when people say they don't like tomatoes. And I'm like, if you don't like tomatoes, it's probably because you haven't had a tomato during the season. Never refrigerate your tomatoes, that's how they become really mealy. So a really cool way to chop or to have these tomatoes is putting 2 Tupperware tops, sandwiching them in between the tomatoes, and then with a bread knife. Bread knives are always best when you're cutting tomatoes because they have this serrated edge. You're just gonna lay your hand on top of the Tupperware and then slice it. Slice the tomatoes. So much more easier than doing it by hand. But of course, if you don't have Tupperware containers, you can just have them individually. Okay, so we have our tomatoes here. The onions and garlic look really good sauteing. So we're just gonna add them. Awesome. Add a little pinch of salt. Remember what I said about seasoning every element of the dish? It's gonna give it so much more flavor. A couple of cracks of ground pepper. And we're just gonna let this chill for about 30 minutes on medium heat until the tomatoes burst around the edges. You'll know it when you see it. Okay guys, so 25 minutes is up, 25 to 30 minutes, and you can see how they've burst. Literally, like they've popped open, and it's kind of resulting in this oniony, tomatoey jam. I totally made that up, but let's go with it. And it's just nice and saucy. Kind of like me. All right, cool. So my pasta's also ready. And what I'm gonna do to kind of thin this pasta out, but to provide some creaminess to it and help the sauce adhere to the pasta, is we're gonna take about 3/4 cup of the pasta water to make more of a sauce. So before I drain it, we're just gonna get all the starchy and salty liquid into the skillet. So we're gonna crank up the heat now to high, and it's gonna reduce by half and get really, really creamy for us. So this is the consistency that you wanna look for. It's about reduced by half. It's getting nice and thick. We're gonna turn this down to low. And we're gonna add our basil, because it wouldn't be pasta with burst cherry tomatoes and basil if we didn't have the basil. So I'm just gonna tear it with my fingers, and put it in. And by tearing it, it just releases all of the oils. I like putting a tablespoon of butter just for added creaminess. And we're just gonna let that melt. And then we're done. And here you have it. Pasta with burst cherry tomatoes and basil. I can't wait to eat this, so I'm gonna end fast. If you want the full recipe, go to @taylorstable.com, subscribe to my channel, tune in next week for another episode of At Taylor's Table, and look me up on Instagram and Twitter @TaylorHenriquez. Bon appetit.